We are live, guys. Give us a second. If you are watching this already, go ahead and jump in on the live chat. Sorry we were a little bit late. Ben is going to be joining the call with us here in just a second. If I'm not looking right at the camera right now, it's because I am setting Ben up right now. So kick back, relax, let us get worked out. This is, like I said, this is the first live stream, so this is all new to us. So please be patient with us, guys. Ben should be joining us very, very shortly here. 20 people on board so far. I can see you guys. There we go. Houston, Dominic, what's up? What's up, Mo? There we go. If you guys want, if you're just joining in, go ahead and say what's up in the live chat. Make sure you let us know where you're coming from. If you're just joining, Ben should be hitting us up here in like 2 minutes. We were testing it out here before and trying to set up some different audio, and we couldn't really get it set up. So we are just running straight microphone off the computer, camera off the computer. And yeah, I'm gonna clean off the camera real quick because it's a little fuzzy. Give me 1 second. There we go, that looks better. Central Florida, what's up? Jason Cobb, thank you, sir. Indiana in the house. Homeland, John, what's up, buddy? Vegas. All right, we got a lot of people popping in. Awesome. So tonight's topic is Lowdown Custom Rods. For you guys that are in the Swimbait community and know about custom rods and all that stuff, you guys, I'm sure that 99% of you guys know who Ben Dehnadi is from Lowdown Customs. Sorry. Oh, I got something coming through on my phone. Here we go. I think that might be. Oh, Ben's asking me if I sent him a new link. Yep. Hold on, guys. Sorry. We're both new at this, so give us a second. But tonight's topic is Lowdown Custom Rods. Custom rod builder Ben Dehnadi. He's going to go over what to look for when you're picking out a swimbait rod, you know, and why we as swimbait anglers need specialized gear and rods that will handle these bigger lures. Why you can't just go out there and throw it on a flipping stick. Uh-oh, Ben's telling me there's no email on his end. Okay, guys, give me 1 second. I got to try to get Ben on here real fast. Give me 1 second. Invite people. Ben. You invite. There we go. Another one sent to him. So like you guys, like I said, a lot of you guys probably know who Ben is, but a lot of you guys might not have met Ben or seen Ben. He's not really in the limelight a whole bunch. He's not in front of the camera a lot. Oh, just resent. Might take a second. Oh, he got the email, guys. Okay, he should be on here any minute. So Ben's the type of guy that kind of just lets his rod speak for himself. You really don't see him in front of a camera too much. He likes, you know, he likes his rods to do the talking. And I would venture to say that 99% of the guys out there that are in the swimbait community and have a Lowdown Customs rod have nothing but good things to say about him. He puts a ton of effort in, a ton of hard work into each rod, and he's got a vast array of different rods that he offers, all the way from a custom full bore custom build to your specs and what you want to do, to what are called the white labels, which are basically you can go on his big cartel and buy them right then Oh, I see him popping in. There he is.
Oh, yo, what's up, man?
Mr. Ben. All right, buddy. We are live.
So awesome.
Cool. Guys, I am going to pop this. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pop this live stream into a new, or the live chat into a new window so I can focus on that and not stare at myself. Pop out chat. Here we go. There we go. Boom. All right. If you guys are just logging in, this is Ben from Lowdown Customs. He is a custom rod builder out of Tustin, right, Ben?
Tustin, California.
Tustin, California. And like I was just saying, if you guys are just tuning in and you guys are either A, new to swim baiting, or B, have been doing it a long time, I'm sure you know who Ben is. But if you're just getting into it, Ben has a company called Lowdown Customs, and he offers everything from a full bore custom build all the way to when they're in stock, go in on his big cartel and buy the white label rods. So I'm gonna give it over to Ben real quick, and let's hear a little bit about you, Ben. How'd you get started building rods, and how'd you get into the swim bait scene?
Okay, so it all started, it goes back to when I was roughly 11 years old. I don't really have any fishermen in the family, and it was basically one day my cousin came and picked me up and just wanted to spend some time with me as a kid, and he took me out to a local spot over here called Irvine Lake. It's a pay-to-catch trout lake. They stock trout during the winter, catfish during the summer. Has a bass population as well, but anyway, he's not a fisherman. He picked me up for trout fishing at about 12 in the afternoon. So you already know you're off to a bad start. You know, as we're driving to the lake, people are leaving the lake. And we ended up getting in there about 1. We sat down, we fished. We did not catch anything, but it instantly sparked this like love and passion for fishing. And I started getting into it. From there, I went into the saltwater for a bit, being so close to the ocean here in Orange County. And then obviously as a kid, getting down to the beach is expensive, and so is the tackle. So that's where I started fishing for largemouth. You could do it any of the park lakes. You know, anywhere you find water, for the most part, you're going to find bass. So that's where the fishing started from. A few years later, I was about 13 years old. One of my good friends, just randomly, he wanted a wrapping machine for Christmas. His parents got it for him. And we just sat down and we started stripping our own rods and just kind of rebuilding them. So that was around 13 years old. And then off and on from then to now, I've done rod building. It just kind of came back into my life. As far as LDC, it's like about the last 6-7 years now that it came back into my life, and it obviously became a big part of it.
Yeah. So Lowdown Customs isn't that old. You haven't been,
no.
I mean, it's old. It's definitely old enough, but I mean, you guys, it's not like you have been doing Lowdown for like 20 years.
No. It's only been, so far as selling rods to the public, it's been 6 years. This is going into the 6th year.
That's insane, man. That is rapid growth for a very small time.
Originally started out wrapping, and it was just kind of like, I got back into fishing, randomly got into swim bait fishing on my own, just kind of picked it up. It grew from there. And started fishing a lot of stuff out there, and just started looking for something else, you know, something a better fit for is how I was swim baiting and the guys around me. And that rod building skill came back into play, started building stuff, and then word just kind of spread. And I went from wrapping in my apartment at the time on the kitchen counter to going to a shop, my first shop, splitting a shop. After that, my own shop back up in Fullerton. And then I was there for about 4 or 5 years. And then recently, the past year and a half, moved down here to the Irvine area, and the shop's over here in Tustin. For people that aren't in California, the best way to, I'm about 10, maybe 15 minutes away from Disneyland in Anaheim. Yeah.
Are you by the marketplace?
Yes, right on the other side of the freeway. Same exit, opposite side of the freeway.
Yeah. Like me being I'm from Huntington Beach originally, so I'm familiar with Orange County, like Huntington Beach all the way up to high school, and then high school I did in South County in Mission Viejo. So we used to go to the marketplace all the time when I was a kid.
There you go. We're right there. Jamboree in the 5.
Oh yeah, I totally know where that's at. Awesome.
Yeah.
So what? One of the questions I get asked a lot. There's so many different. There's so many different types of swim bait rods out there. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
someone like you you've got your custom builds, you've got your productions, you've got your white labels, and people kind of get confused sometimes. Like when you say production, I actually just had that talking to a kid last week. I was telling him about the production models, and because I was saying production, he automatically assumed white label. So yeah. Why don't you go over the different kinds of rods that Lowdown Customs offers? Like what are they? How long is the wait time on each? Is the custom like down to a thread, full custom build, or why don't you go over some of the rods that you guys offer?
So the first thing that we came out with, which really wasn't out in the market anywhere, you weren't even going to find it 6 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, is you weren't going to walk into the store and find a double extra heavy rod. Most rod manufacturers, it was standard issue. You got a medium heavy, a heavy, and an extra heavy. That extra heavy usually went up to about 7-8 ounces. At the time, that's what started it, because we needed a rod for like 9-10 ounce and bigger baits. So that's when that double X was born, and that was a custom at the time. And we started with that one, and I just kind of started going with custom. So after that got dialed in, started doing an extra heavy, a heavy, and your medium heavy. When you get into that custom lineup, it's just not the aesthetics. And yes, you can get down to a thread. A lot of the guys that are used to custom rods, they're familiar with the build process. They'll come and there's some people that just say, hey, Ben, here's my money. I want an XH. And like, I just want some gold in it, but do what you do. And then there's people that come and say, hey, here I want 2 strands of gold. Here I want 2 strands of red, or I want this or that. And that's cool. I enjoy it all. That's part of my job. So the customs do get down to that point. But aside from the aesthetics, when you get into a custom build, you start setting up some functional aspects of the rod that fit you perfectly. The biggest thing is the rear grip. Some people don't know what a rear grip is. We're talking from right behind the reel seat, where the back of the reel seat meets the grip, to the end of the rod, the butt of the rod. That is a rear grip.
Okay.
Or that's what I refer to as a rear grip, and that's what most people refer to as a rear grip. So when you get that, we'll have you measure from your wrist to your elbow. Based off that measurement, we'll tell you what we suggest. And that usually falls in about, 15 to 18 inches. It really all depends. And of course, there's guys that kind of want an even longer rod or even shorter rod or whatever it is. But with that custom setup, you can do that. And
like,
then you can get into the full grip or the split grip. Some guys don't know that full grip. I was just answering a bunch of these today. That full grip is having a grip material all the way from the butt to the back of the seat, or a split grip where there's some kind of gap in between that grip. It may be half an inch, it may be 8 inches, whatever it is, you can set that up. You have that, the reel seat options. Different reel seats have different feels. Foregrip, which is above the reel seat, if you want that or not, and if so, the length material. And then obviously you start getting into cosmetics. What colors do you want on there? And as far as that. And the tapers is what breaks it down. We have a mod fast taper, that's like a faster rod that shuts off about like a third or a quarter of the way down. That's like your specialty soft swim bait rod, dragging a HUD with an open jig hook,
right,
down like 30 feet of water at a snail's pace on a 5-to-1, and you get thumped down there. The guys that have been doing it long enough know it takes a lot of force and effort when that bass closes its mouth on that bait and moving 5 ounces of rubber and drilling that hook through that fish's face. Like, you have to have the proper rod for that, especially when you're fishing that deep.
Backbone.
And then what else we have, which we refer to, and a lot of people start calling it this, is a parabolic. It's kind of, it's a cool term in a sense, but when you think about it, all rods have a bend to them, which makes them parabolic in a sense. What we're referring to is a slow taper. That slow taper is a specialty rod for hard baits. And a lot of the stuff breaks down to traditional bass fishing. When you're fishing crankbaits, jerkbaits, things like that, you want a slow rod to keep those fish pinned on those treble hooks on your hard baits. The same thing happens when you get into a depths 250 or you get into any of these larger hard baits, hanging treble hooks. It's that style rod. That's kind of like the fundamentals of it. That's like the base of it. And then, of course, the longer you do it, you develop your own style. I got guys that go, no, I like fishing the big hard baits on a mod fast rod. I just like to drill them real quick and I grind them straight to the boat and it's a done deal. So that's when you develop your own style. I just kind of tell people, here's the foundational stuff of way before any of us even picked up a swim bait. What guys were doing, it still holds true today. And if you develop your own style as time goes on, well, you may switch it up and go with those different tapers. So in the customs, you have that mod fast soft bait stick. You have that slow taper in as well in the customs.
Yeah.
And then when you get into the LDC production side, there's a moderate taper, which is kind of a nice in between, and that's a kind of good starting rod for a guy that wants to fish soft baits, hard baits, and kind of figure out what his style is. Or maybe he just likes moderate tapers. I got guys that love those too. So that's that side. And then our newest side, which is really cool, is the white labels everyone's seeing. That is more on a slower side. I really like fishing that style rod. I love hard bait fishing. But I'll still HUD fish with it. I run a Butch Brown rig. It's got a head hook. And, you know, with that thing, I'm so used to just kind of sweeping and send the hook. I'll get them on one of those prongs. So it works out really well for me. So that's on the white label side that everyone's seeing. So it comes down the basis of all these 4 different ones is those papers and what they're going to do for you in swim bait fishing.
That's kind of like I have the, you know, the production that you cut down for me or whatever. And that's the moderate taper, right?
That's the moderate. That's an LDC production. An LDC production is like that silent standard issue rod that you need just to get by and fish. You won't, when you see those out there, you won't even see labels on them. They're just pretty much blacked out rods, which I like a lot.
Yeah.
Those are the LDC productions, and that is a moderate taper. Really nice soft bait and hard bait rod.
Yeah, that I was like insanely amazed at how many baits that rod could efficiently throw, being extra heavy. You know, I've talked to you about it. I literally threw everything from a negotiator and a 175 all the way up to, you know, a depths and a 9-ounce Rago, you know, and it threw them all, and it threw them all good, you know, that the Rago is getting towards the top end of it.
Yeah.
You know, but it still threw it, and it never felt like with a jig hook, it felt solid. It didn't feel mushy, but when I would have a depths pin on it, it still has a nice bend all the way, you know, down. Felt like, you know, more than half the rod. But if I'm setting a jig hook, that first quarter of the rod would it gets right into the backbone. You know, it really does.
Yeah, they're really nice. Like I said, they fish both really nice, you know, and like you said, on that jig hook, you set the hook, it's going to drive that hook through the fish's mouth.
Yeah.
Still has a nice tip with the depths, which a lot of people like, is they like feeling that kind of turn when it turns. You need a lighter tip in a rod to feel that. If you're fishing a faster rod and a more powerful rod, you're not going to feel that. And some people feel disconnected, and obviously you feel disconnected, confidence starts to drop, and, you know, you're looking at packing up your stuff and going home early. Yeah.
Well, give me 1 second. I'm just, you guys, thank you guys for joining us. This is Ben from Lowdown Custom Rods. I am sending out social media stuff because we are a couple minutes late. Thank you guys for watching. We got a lot of people logged in right now. The chat's kind of going nuts right now. We got a whole bunch of comments coming through. Ben and I, for everyone asking questions out there, you guys keep putting them in the chat box, and I've got it popped up on the side. Ben and I are gonna just talk to you guys about, you know, what he offers and what he's got going on over at Lowdown Customs, and then we are gonna jump into the chat and make sure to try to get to as many questions as we can. Oh, Mo, thank you. Shared it on Badlands. We got that out on Facebook. It's up on my Instagram, and it's out on Twitter. So yeah, the white labels, being that those are what people probably see them, I would say the most, right? Because it's on your big cartel, it's on your site.
Yep.
What are those going to offer a kid that's looking, you know, that's got a couple $100 to spend? Like, is it a good all around rod? Is it kind of like that production rod where it's got a good blend of both, or is it more parabolic or more jig?
It's a little bit slower compared to the LDC production side. I personally like that. That fits my style. The past 2 years, the custom rods I was fishing and a few of my guys were fishing, even though they had LDC labels on, they were workshop blanks that I built as testers, and they were getting fish. That's another big thing. Before I put anything out on the market, either I'm putting a lot of time into it myself, fishing it and testing it, or one of the guys in the group or two of the guys in the groups are doing it. That comes down to making something work properly, i.e. not only going out and fishing it, make sure they're durable and they're lasting, but also make sure they're fishing the baits well. And also at the end, which is sometimes will take the longest, obviously, we know how the swim bait game is and getting bit, is hanging big fish on them and making sure they get pinned and they end up in the boat. Because at the end of the day, we're selling a high quality product and we want to make sure it's backed and people are getting exactly what they need for trophy bass fishing, you know? So we put the time into those things. So the workshop white labels, back to them, I personally love them. All the stuff I'm building for my own rods that I fish are built on those blanks. Someone that's getting into it, if you're getting into it, I know this was a question you asked me before, I get it a lot too. I like to sell someone a rod that does a lot of things. These things aren't inexpensive. They're actually very expensive. So when you come get a rod from me, I want you to get a lot of use out of it, especially if you're just going to get one rod.
Right.
Almost nationwide, I want to say that go-to rod is an extra heavy. It fishes 3 to 8 ounce, and obviously when you fish some of the lighter stuff, you'll be a power up, but that's a good thing. When you hook into what, again, you're chasing is, to me, when you're chasing trophy fish, that could be fishing at a pond, that could be fishing at a big lake, it could be wherever, but that day and that time where you're fishing, you're trying to catch the biggest fish in that body of water, whatever that may be, from here all the way to Massachusetts.
Right.
So when you're hooking into these bigger fish, trust me, you lay into them, you set the hook, you have that rod that's a power up in a sense, and you land that fish and you're taking pictures and you're sending it to your buddies and you're excited. I promise you, what helps you land that fish is having that power. When you have that power, you're controlling the fish and you're getting in the boat. Because if not, you give these fish, you know, bass fishing is not a thing, trophy bass fishing, where you're going to sit there and play them and this thing ordeal is going to go on. The longer that fight goes on, the more the percentage goes up that that fish is going to come unbuttoned and it's going to pop off.
Yeah.
So you want to get them in as quick as possible. You know, I fish a drag button down on 20 pound. I set the hook. I keep the rod loaded, my tip close to the water so it keeps my line down. I don't want fish coming up and me helping them jump. And it's just a straight line and that's it. It's nonstop to the point you can't even turn the handle, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. So that extra heavy 3 to 8 ounce, if guys wonder, well, how do you cast the lighter baits? When you hang that bait from your rod tip to cast, you're going to hang it down a little bit farther, the lighter bait, than where you would hang like a depth or something. And what's happening is on that motion of the swing, you're getting that tip to load up and it's casting that bait out there. You're going to have no problem casting out a 2-3 ounce bait. Yeah,
that's one thing I noticed with that production is that, you know, with the lighter stuff, you let out that extra, you know, whatever foot or two, and it really nice. It'll load, you know, small baits and big baits, no problems. You said something earlier, and we're talking in fishing terms, and we know, but that 13-year-old or 15-year-old kid that just got a birthday present with a, you know, couple hundred in it,
yeah.
You know, if they're looking for a slow rod or a fast rod or this or that kind of, what am I trying to do? What's all that mean? You know what I mean? Like, what is a slow rod? What is a medium taper rod? What is a fast rod? Just like in the most layman's terms.
Okay, so fast rods you're going to find in a lot of traditional bass fishing. Traditional bass fishing is your worm fishing, jig fishing, spinner baits, all that. You're going to find a lot of that fast and extra fast. That's where you're getting, like, I don't even know. It's almost like down into your first or second guide that those rods bend and then the rest of the rod shuts off. That works for a lot of that style fishing, except for, again, your reaction baits and your crankbaits. You're going to end up with that slow taper too. It's got that deeper bend in the rod. Again, it's the same physics, keeping the fish pinned on those little hard baits. So those tapers are coming into play with these baits. My biggest advice is if you're just getting into this and you want to come our way, you want to grab an LDC, I don't want to say don't think about it too much, because you should think about your purchase. Again, it's a big purchase. Don't overthink it, you know. Yeah. Again, the best thing for you, almost I can say, out of our production line, our white label line, or our customs, and a lot of this obviously comes down to, and a part of the reason we have it, is what fits your budget for that setup, you know. And we kind of have everything, well, we got from about 275 and up, you know. But across the board, it's going to be that extra heavy rod. And then if you end up getting it, you love it, you know, you can check out maybe, oh, I want to throw bigger baits, you get into the double X, or maybe I want a heavy and you get into a heavy or whatnot. So my biggest advice is don't overthink. You can sit there and overthink this thing so much where you don't even buy anything and you don't even fish, and, you know.
I've had kids do exactly that, just totally overthink it, and they're nitpicking their purchases because of a half an ounce, you know what I mean, or an ounce.
Of course.
I've got
a big purchase for them, and I totally get it, you know, because now we're not just talking a rod, now you need a reel, and then you're looking into getting baits, and usually people, and I did it myself when I first get into it, it's almost like you just want to stuff these boxes full of baits and baits and baits, and they cost a lot of money. Those are big purchases.
Yeah.
But that too will confuse you. You'll sit there and tie and retie every single bait you have on the water if you go that route. But anyway, I get it, and the thinking's good. I always tell them, go look around, do your research, ask your buddies, and all that good stuff. But again, I think the go-to, even for myself, if I'm going out for the evening fishing, I usually take one rod and a bag of baits. It's that extra heavy. It's a 5-to-1 gear ratio reel. Again, this stuff from way back swim bait fishing when it first kicked off, it still holds true. The slower you go, the bigger of a fish you're going to catch. Again, it's a thing of odds. Fishing is anything. You go out there with the 8-to-1 and throw, you know, whatever, and you might hook into a big fish. But I'm talking, it's almost like gambling. You want to put yourself in good odds, you know. In that 5-to-1, 20-pound test, if it's one setup, I fish a co-poly. You can fish floating and sinking baits, and that extra heavy, and you know, you can do a lot of damage. You can fish your 8-inch HUDs, you can fish your dabs, you can fish the Regos, you can do a lot of stuff with that.
Yeah, and that's where personal preference comes in, because when you say 5-to-1, I cringe. Like, I throw everything on 6-3, you know what I mean, 6-3 or 7, and I've mentally trained myself to slow down, just totally slow down, you know what I mean, like, but here's
the thing, in my opinion, because I hear this a lot, that people slow down. You know, technically, to a gear ratio of a reel and the way the reel picks up line, you cannot slow down. And the way I tell people this,
you just pretend
traditional Huddleston, I'm going to bounce the bottom with a HUD on a 5-to-1. You can feel bottom contact. Even when you start to get into a 6-to-1, and then a lot of you guys are getting into these 7s and 8s, I promise you, as slow as you can go on a 7 or 8, and sometimes even a 6, you're losing bottom contact with that HUD. You're not in that bite anymore because it's picking up so line, even like barely turning the handle, the head's coming up off the ground.
True.
You know? So, you know, again, it's way before we came along. That 5-to-1 is so tried and true, and you just really can't go wrong with that, you know?
Yeah, I feel that.
I do fish the 6-to-1. I have a 6-to-1 reel. I use it in 2 cases. I don't have any 7-to-1s, and I don't mess with anything faster. I have the 5-to-1 for majority of all my baits, and I have a 6-to-1 for certain applications of glide bait fishing, especially when you get into the bigger glide baits. Some of them, especially the really big ones, you need to have that initial pull on the bait to even get it to glide, like a mother. You almost try to fish on a 5-to-1, you turn the handle so quick. I got my first one like 7-8 years ago from Japan. Tried it on a 5-to-1. It was just going in a straight line. I thought it was garbage.
Yeah.
I put it aside. I watched some Roman made videos. I saw them. They're fishing them on 7-to-1s. But they're not really reeling. They're just doing these little half cranks. And it's that initial pull to get that mother to go, you know, the distance it does and cut back across. But that 6-to-1 for the bigger glides. And also when I throw a lunker punker, it's to pick up that slack in between the walks. Because if not, I've tried a 5-to-1. I'll get bit, and sometimes I've been bit, and I'm still trying to pick up slack and set the hook, and there's nothing there, you know?
That happened yesterday with a kid I took out just on my little pond that I live on. He was throwing a Cardiff, and it's a 5.3, and we were close quarters fishing the whole time, fishing docks and boats and stuff like that. And he was throwing a little 68 special, and he got it under a dock, and he got bit, and the fish ran at us, and it came down, you know, he couldn't pick it up fast enough, and it was gone before he knew it, you know?
Yeah.
So when you're talking about heavy, extra heavy, extra heavy and stuff like that, I know in something like your competitors' rods, I know some companies are like severely overrated. You know, they're saying that this X rod can hold up to 16 ounces, and you throw a 10-ounce bait on it, it feels like it's going to snap in half. What are your guys's lure ratings per rod? And like, what would you like? Are they true? You know what I mean? That's
they're very true. They're so true that's why you see a small gap in them. Like 3 to 8 ounces is a small gap if you were to compare to other rods. The reason is because it truly fishes that. And you could actually fish a little bit heavier and a little bit lighter if it fits your style. But I wanted to hit, it goes back into us testing the rods, putting the time in them. Before I even sold my first workshop white label, last year, all the fishing went into it before they started selling this year. And the reason is, one part is to dial in those ounces. And it's not just with me, it's with the guys that are around me, like, hey, what are you fishing on it? What do you feel comfortable? And you kind of dial in this true rating. And we actually pride ourselves on that, because what we've lost in this day and age of, you know, there's benefits of online shopping and these great deals and all that, but we've lost our beautiful brick and mortar tackle shops. Like most of them around here are gone. So almost gone are the days of like walking into the store and I'm going to pull on these 5 different rods and see what fits me best. So I think those specs need to be so true, especially in this day and age, where when someone wants to buy a rod, there's no worry about, I'm going to buy this thing, and now if I get it and it's not true to the rating, I got to turn around. It's not easy safely packing a rod and shipping it back to a manufacturer. No one wants to deal with that. You know, I've gotten good at it myself, but no one wants to do that. So that's why it's like, we really pride ourselves on it where, hey, you know what, when I tell you this is 3 to 8, it's going to fish 3 to 8, you know, and you're going to get it and you won't have to worry about returning it or any of that stuff. So it should be a huge focus. Again, the spec should be spot on, you know, as far as what people are getting, because as of right now, this moment, the only way you're going to check out an LBC, if your buddy has one, you get to fish it. If you're local, you can stop by, but that's such a small percentage at this point. We're selling so much, not only nationwide in the US, we have a lot that goes to Japan and we have a lot that goes to Europe. So, you know, and I think a lot of that is because they know when they see that rating, they know it's going to hold true to what it actually does. You know, it will fish those baits.
Yeah. You guys have a huge following in Japan, right?
It's a pretty good following. Haven't really pushed much out there. It's been guys that are into the custom rods. They started buying around, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. And again, it was because the blessings of social media. And they found out about the company and a few jumped on and got some rods. And then, of course, word of mouth kind of spreads. And right now we have, actually we sell right now our clothing's over there. It's Structure, and specifically, it's a shop called Structure. They have their own line of gear. And they carry ours, and it's going really well. We have a new collection of gear dropping soon, and we're sending their order over there as well. So it's been cool. Yeah, probably do. And I want to do a rod for them, but it's going to be a specific rod to them. They have length restrictions there as far as storage and also the style of fishing they do there. So we'll get to that one day, you know.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Rad. What on those, on the white shop, or not the white shop, the white label rods, the rod, or not the rod length, but the grip length is, for me, it's a big factor. I'm a short dude, you know what I mean? And I don't have long arms, so I've got to have a good grip that I can get that leverage with. And I think that's a big thing for kids too. You know, especially some of the smaller kids that are getting these swim bait rods, and they might be in their teens, you know, and they're not super tall, with long arms, and they're trying to huck a depth, and they're having a hard time with other rods getting that leverage. What do you guys offer as far as like a handle length?
Our handle length on, we'll just talk about the workshop, because again, if they go custom, you can do as long or as short as you want. Our workshop white label, that's like our production rod. They're built as is. When we have them and they're in stock, they ship same day or next day. On the extra heavy, extra heavy, and double X, it's a 16-inch rear grip. That's where, off of all the customs I built, I've kind of dialed in what I think is perfect, and it's worked out really, really well. And the 7'9" medium heavy in that lineup, because it's already such a shorter rod, we have a 15-inch rear grip on there.
Okay.
So, that's where we found the sweet spots for that.
Yeah, Johnny Childers just commented, I'm 6'4" and 24-inch handles are still too short.
Yeah, that 24-inch though, he might be referring to Tackle Warehouse. Again, it's a little bit of confusion, but and I've answered these questions as well. They'll see grip length. If you go to Tackle Warehouse, which is a huge online retailer, they describe grip length on every single rod from the butt of your rod up to the very top of your foregrip, like the entire handle setup.
Really?
So no one's putting out a 24-inch rod. So he may be looking at those. He might be shopping right now in Tackle Warehouse, and he's looking at those numbers. That 24 inches from the butt of the rod all to the way to the very front of the foregrip. If there's no foregrip, it means the very top of the reel seat.
I didn't know that. That's funny.
So something that helps people out. Again, I just enjoy helping people. If you're going to buy on there, here's some simple math. Most of those reel seats on the majority of rods, Fuji and non-Fuji seats, when they're on rods, they're about 5 inches. Granted, those foregrips, like a foregrips, you kind of have to eye based off the reel seat. But if you know your reel seat's 5-inch, and then you kind of see that kind of like, I don't know, a little more than half on a foregrip, that means that's probably about 3. So you got 8 inches, then you subtract that for that overall length, and then you're going to get your rear grip length on that rod.
Okay.
Again, it really helps out with the online shopping. So most of those reel seats you see, though, if not all of them, you're looking at 5 inches.
Right on. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
No one's putting out a 24-inch rod rear grip.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
One question I get a lot, man, and when I first started talking to you, I asked about it too, and it's coming up. I'm looking at the live chat now. I think it's probably popped up 3 or 4 times.
Cool.
And that's spiral wrapping. What the heck is spiral wrapping, and why do you have spiral wrapped rods?
Spiral wrap rods is nothing new. Excuse me. In custom rod building, starting out on the West Coast, I want to say it's almost 25 years old, roughly.
Right.
I don't know the exact date. And I know some more of the history, but it just goes deep, and we'll till tomorrow. So it's been around for a long time. The only reason we haven't seen it we do see it every once in a while in the mainstream market. Someone will try to introduce it, but it doesn't last too long out in the market, is, in my opinion, no one takes the time to educate the consumers of what's the benefits of this. And not just the technical aspect, but what I always feel holds true is, what is the end user going to see and feel a difference with the spiral wrap? So it's been around, again, way before we came along. It's something we do utilize in the rods. And what it does, the first thing, and I'll just make it real simple, just a couple hits. So if you take like an 8-foot Swimbait rod, any of them, you're going to end up with anywhere on a traditional wrap where all guides are on top. You're going to end up with usually about 9 to like into 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 guides. It varies. It depends who set the rod up and however they did that.
Yeah.
And most of the time, as you know, when you have all those guides on top of the rod, they're getting closer and closer and closer and closer as you get to the tip. So towards the tip, you have a bunch of these guides, right?
Right.
What happens is you have all this additional weight of all these guides up top. And the reason all those guides are up top, let me hit this too, is they're keeping the line off the blank. The line naturally wants to be underneath the blank. It's just physics. So you need all those guides to keep it off the blank, because if not, it touches the blank, it becomes a pressure point, and line pops. Right. So when you put all these guides on the rods, then you wrap each of the feet with thread, and then you put finish on them. You're adding all this extra weight. When you add all this extra weight, you're robbing the rod of its sensitivity, especially as you get up towards the tip. And you're just adding overall weight to it. When you come in with a spiral wrap, and again, it depends who sets the spiral up, but I'll just tell you the LDC. The 8-foot LDC will only have 7 guides plus a tip top.
Okay.
And the way that's done is by doing the spiral wrap, you're taking the line underneath the blank, you're making it like a spinning rod. You can eliminate all those extra guides because now the line's already underneath the blank. It's never going to touch the blank. So you have less guides on there, less wraps on the feet, less finish, and less overall weight on the rod, and it's even more of a sensitive rod. That the blank's actually responding and acting like this. Yeah, this stuff goes on. That stuff, though, you'll see and feel a difference. Like, you can look at that, you can get it, you can fish it, and you go, wow, this thing feels different. Yeah. What else we do with it is we combine it. Once you do that, you don't need those bigger guides. You can make them even smaller. If you take your conventional wrap rod, make a cast with it, you're going to see your line bouncing around all around in those guides. That's called line slap. Every time that line's bouncing around and it's slapping around, it's causing friction and it's cutting down on your casting distance. When we use the spiral wrap, again, because we're going underneath the blank, we can use a smaller guide, and it actually makes a more streamlined flow, so you can actually get better casting distance. And what that means, it does not mean you're going to cast twice as far, because once again, there's just the laws of physics and gravity you can't defy. But you will get a little bit more casting distance, and you will actually get a better accuracy out of it. And again, these are things I've sold to guys who have never fished a spiral wrap rod. They get it, and without me even telling them these things, that's their feedback with it. Like, you know what, my casts are so much more accurate, or I'm getting a little bit more distance, or I have a much more sensitivity with this rod. So those are things you're going to see and feel a difference with that, you know?
That's I went like this on the screen because you just kind of blew my mind a little bit, because I had no idea all that went into it.
Yeah.
Well, that was all the reason, you know what I mean? Like, I thought, and I've relayed this information over to people, it's to protect your guide, you know what I mean? Like,
no. What it does too, there's one more benefit. Again, these are the only things I share is what, as an end user, you see and feel a difference. What else it does is if you're hooked into a really big fish, saltwater guys experience this a lot more, but you hook into a bigger largemouth, you can see it in the videos and on people's rods. If it's a conventional wrap, as the fish gets closer and closer to the boat, you can see that rod start to roll. All of a sudden, you see the guides rolling off to the left or the right.
Yeah. And
what that rod's doing is it's torquing, you know, and it's losing actually power and control over the fish. Because the guides are underneath the blank on a spiral wrap, it squares up right on them. There's no more rolling, and it's utilizing the power of that rod to control that fish. Again, and all these end up helping you land that trophy fish that you're chasing.
That's
awesome. That's why we use it. And then, you know, it probably leads in the next thing. A lot of guys heard when we started doing it, why is there a choice between a left-handed spiral and a right-handed spiral? There's, you know, in my opinion, I say these things in my opinion. I fished both. Even the past year and a half, I've been fishing a left-handed spiral, and my reels are on the right-hand side. There's no performance difference, and I tested them way before as well, but I kind of went back to it just to mess around and try it. Is performance, there's no difference. You can fish a left or right, and you're fine as far as this application. The only reason we gave that option is if you're standing up and you drop this setup, with the crank side of your reel, the rod's going to tend to fall to that side because that's where that extra weight distribution is. If it does fall to that side and your guide that spirals is on that side, the handle is going to prevent those rods taking a hit on the ground, the guides, and the crank will take the hit and nothing will happen. You know, right. That's how. And the other thing is for guys that are fishing in boats, if your spiral wrap goes to your crank side reel, they do lay a little bit nicer on the deck of the boat.
Okay. Josh has asked twice. Josh Kendrick, what is spiral wrap? Josh, we just finished explaining all the benefits of it, but spiral wrap is you're looking down the blank of your fishing rod, and the guides that hold your line, they literally spiral around the rod, and at the end of the tip, the guides are on the bottom. The first like 2 or 3 spiral around the rod to where the guides are on the bottom of the rod. And if you want, there is playback on this live stream, guys. So if you guys missed anything, or you guys are just jumping in late and you want to see what we've been talking about we're already 45 minutes in. But
I'm having a blast.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's fun.
You guys are just joining us. This is Ben from Lowdown Customs Rods in Tustin, California. He is a custom swim bait rod builder. If you guys want to track back in the live feed and look at what we've been talking about, you totally can. And after we're done with this live feed, give it a little bit. Takes probably 10, 15 minutes, and YouTube will archive it, and it will be up on my channel, Swimbait Chronicles, as a normal video, and you guys can watch it. You guys can watch it tomorrow again. That was a lot of info on spiral wrapping, and we've had 44 minutes so far of amazing info so far on Lowdown Custom Rods. Let's see, what else do we have on the agenda? Oh, we've got a lot of questions coming in. I'll ask you one of my questions. That's something I kind of fight over one more time, that's something I wonder a lot, and that's preferred rod length. Some days I feel like I want an 8 foot. Some days I love throwing my 8.6, and I bounce back and forth between them a lot. Being that I'm in a kayak, I use my 8 foot rods more than I do my 8.6s because they're just easier, you know. But what's your preferred length?
My personal preferred length on a heavy, extra heavy, and a double X is 8'6". On my medium heavy, it's a 7'9". Medium heavy is such a light tip rod compared to swim bait rods, even though fish is 1 to 5 ounce. It's a lighter tip rod. You get into like almost an 8 foot, 3 inches more, or I've made some 8.6s, but I've noticed like they're just real whippy. Like it's a weird thing. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone unless they specifically wanted something like that. But 7'9" on the medium heavies kind of holds true across the board. I personally 8'6" on a heavy up to a double X, but I can see, again, it comes down to your style of fishing. Guys like you that are in a kayak that come to me for custom rods, overall they want a shorter length rod. They're usually around the 8 foot is what they like because you're sitting down.
Yeah.
And even though based off the measurement from the wrist to their elbow, I might say like, hey, a 16 inch may be the ticket, but as soon as they go, hey, I just kayak fish all the time, usually I put them down to about, I'll say, dude, you want like about a 15 inch handle, maybe a 14. The reason is sitting down, that's all you need for that two-handed cast. And on top of that, once you have a fish hook and you start pulling that rod out in front of you and you're gonna net it, kayak's a very tight spot. You know, I used to flow tube a lot as a kid. And it's kind of similar in the sense, or even guys that fish sitting down in bass boats, you want to swing that rod handle in front of you. If it's too long, it's going to hit you in the gut. It's going to hit you in the side. Fish is flopping over here trying to look for a net, and it becomes a whole ordeal. So for that sit-down style of fishing, I guess we would call it float tubes, kayaks, or sitting down in a bass boat, you're looking at a like 14, 15-inch handle, you know. Again, you go much shorter than that, you start to lose leverage. And I'm not even talking about a two-handed cast. I'm talking about hooking into a big fish, and that thing just rocks you, and freaking the handle slides out, and you're just kind of palming a reel seat. And again, you're going to be in a mess real quick. So
yeah,
that's where I would say as far as that, and definitely an 8 foot's a lot more manageable. For the majority, 8 foot rods are really nice. You know, that's why our whole first phase of workshop rods were all 8 footers. The next ones we have coming out, we are hitting the 8'6" lengths, and doing that for the guys that want it. Plus, you get into storage issues. Not everyone can store an 8'6" rod, be it in their car. A lot of older bass boats do not accommodate an 8'6". The newer ones do, but the older ones don't. And so it's a storage issue as well. So it really depends. You know, I have a Chevy Silverado 1500. I can get about inside the cap, corner to corner. I can put about an 8'8" rod. So 8'6", I can still carry them around even when I shore fish or whatever I'm going to do. But
yeah,
overall, I do like the longer rod. I fish the 9 foot stuff. I tried it for a second. I made myself some. For me, it's just way too much rod. Like, I don't need it. Like, the benefit over that in an 8'6", I just don't see it. But that's just me and my personal opinion. You know, there's guys that like it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a lot of questions coming in. Actually, the chat is pretty popping in here. So maybe we'll
answer some questions.
Yeah, let's roll over there. Guys that have been pumping questions out for the last 45 minutes. We appreciate it. I'm going to scroll back up top and see what we missed. Let's see here. We got Mason saying Irvine was a great lake before they shut it down.
They did. Irvine, I don't even have a straight story on it, living here and growing up here my whole life. But at this point, it is shut down.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of water in there, and I've kind of heard rumors of different directions it may go, and only God knows. We live in Orange County. The land's really valuable. It's because of the weather. Like year-round, it's nice. You know, you're from here.
Yeah.
So I live in Irvine, and I saw Irvine come to be. I remember coming down here as a kid when it was just orange fields, you know. And
yeah.
Now, like, I'm seeing the last little bit of the land, including the Air Force bases, being built on. So it's just huge value. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being like a private community with houses up on the hillside, because they're building into that area.
Yeah.
And so they'll keep it as a lake. Water's valuable around here. They'll keep it as a lake, but it might be a private community or something. But it is a bummer because it was a great spot for living in the city. It's from here, it was like a 10-minute drive, you know. Fun gas fishing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack Brown, question for Ben. How much do custom rods cost? I'm looking to get into a bait, or I think he means into a rod for the Gangcraft 303, and he noticed the Double X isn't in stock on the white labels.
We will be restocking those. I don't have a time right now, but when they do, they are coming back. All those rods will be back in stock at a certain time.
Okay.
But Gangcraft 303, I personally don't fish it. Manny Chi fishes it, of Manny Chi Outdoors. We work with him. I'm actually staring at a picture over here on the wall at the workshop of him and probably the biggest fish I've seen so far on the 303. He fishes on the LDC Double X, the Parabolic Custom. Majority of rods you see on our Facebook page, Instagram, and Twitter page that pop up as customs, they'll say Lowdown Customs. They start at $350. Most of them are right there at $350. The only time they go up is if you want to get into some enthusiast parts. One of them is that Alps metal trigger seat that a lot of guys like. We started doing that about 4 or 5 years ago when Alps just dropped that seat. We picked a few up and started using them, and they caught on like fire. People still love them. That seat cost me about $50 to get in my hand. All we do is say, hey, cover that 50 and we'll put it on the rod for you. We don't mark it up anymore. So, but most of the stuff you see, it's right at that $350 price. That $350 price is built with a lot of cool options built into it.
That's awesome.
That's I kind of set it up, so it'd be cool. And again, a lot of bass fishermen aren't used to custom rods, so I want to kind of simplify the process and have a lot of offerings at that beginning price point, you know. Again, the much more you cut down on this confusion and kind of get people dialed in and get them what they want, and you know, everyone's happy.
Yeah.
But he's fishing it on the Double X. He does fish that 303.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mr. 508er asks or says, rumor is the Triple X is coming from LDC. What's that rod rating going to be on that Triple X that's coming out?
Man, and this is again a great example of how we test stuff. Manny, I built the first prototype Triple X. I think it's been over a year now. That's in that workshop lineup. Manny's had that, I want to say, for almost or over a year in his boat, and he's been fishing it, and I haven't even sold one yet. So that's the kind of testing we go into stuff before we just put anything out there. He's got it. He really likes it. I'm pretty sure he okayed it last time I talked to him. So that is coming out pretty soon. And honestly, I'd like to put it out there before this year ends, maybe right when it kicks off, because obviously that's a lot of the West Coast guys that are fishing the trout stock lakes, and they want to throw that super duper big stuff. You know, now's the time for it. So it's gonna drop soon. He's got it. It's 8'6". Actually, on our YouTube channel, there's a video of him talking about it, and he loves it. And if you want to check it out right now, you can book a trip on Manny Chi Outdoors, jump in his boat, and the rod's there, and you can fish it.
Yeah, right.
I've seen a few guys already go out there and stick really nice fish, maybe even their PBs, and it was on that rod, and I think they were throwing a lot of the Hinkle trout on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a beast of a rod. It sounds like a beast, but it still has a really nice taper. The diameter on that rod is like half the size the diameter on our other double X. Just built completely different. It's a whole different mandrel, whole different build. So like when people see it, they're like, no way. Like even if you compare the workshop white labels to our other stuff, you can tell such a thinner diameter blank, which I really like. I want to make things smaller and more compact. Feels like a regular bass rod in your hand for going and chucking a bait for 8 hours, you know? So that triple X is just like that, and it handles that big stuff, still has that nice taper to it. And if you want to check it out right now, you can go book a trip, jump in the boat with Manny.
Yeah, what is it? It's a white Cayman, right?
It is 23 feet. I never bass fished in such a rad boat where that original trip I went on 4 years ago before he started doing his guiding was you can stand on the side of that boat on like the walkways and fish, which blew me away because it's kind of a center console style boat, but flats boat. And most of those you can't walk on there, but this one you can comfortably stand there and fish. That's why you see a lot of guys go out there in like groups of 2 and 3 because the boat can handle it.
Yeah, I haven't been out there yet, but Manny, if you're watching, soon, buddy, soon. Hopefully after the first of the year, I'll be able to get out there.
Yeah.
Here's a good question, and it's not necessarily about LDC rods, but it's about you. What swim baits does Ben throw the most? What does the man behind LDC rods throw?
I am.
What's your lineup right now?
I'm proud to say it because, you know, I'm a bait junkie. I buy everything and I try it, even though I tell beginners not to do it. But that's a great way to figure out for yourself what you like and what you don't like. But you obviously got to go through the process. What's really cool is a lot of this swim bait stuff, if you don't like it or you want to do whatever with it, it resells really nice online. Or you can trade it so they don't lose their value. It's not like buying a pack of worms and you're just screwed and you can't do anything with it. So with that being said, I buy and try everything. I'm still fishing a lot of like the old, quote unquote, the older stuff, like that 8-inch HUD. You can't go wrong. Because of Butch Brown, I fished that Slide Swimmer 250. Like that's been a great bait, you know. I'm fishing. I got him a little bit later last season. I will be fishing him this season. I'm looking forward to seeing the success on him. Is the Alpha Trout.
Oh,
that's a fishing bait, especially the line through. I really love that one and how it runs higher in the water column.
Yeah.
So I fish those. My favorite style and time of fish, believe it or not, being in Southern California, I don't go wild and crazy over the trout stockings. I do fish them, but my favorite time is late spring, post spawn, all the way through summer and early fall, and it's night fishing. Part of that reason is I do love night fishing, but you know, I'm running a full-time business. I'm here 7 days a week. I'm here 10, 12 hours a day. I also have family time and everything else to do, but it's a lot of night fishing, but I love wake bait fishing at night. Surface, wake baits. There's something about like a double-digit fish just coming up and crushing a bait on the surface, you know, so it's fun. But yeah.
At night, man, a black rat at night just gets stomped. The
rat diet is always fun, you know, so that's some of the stuff I'm fishing, you know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What Evan Will asked, is there any I know we kind of touched on it in the very, very beginning, but Evan Will asks, what inspired you to start building custom rods? Like we talked about it a little bit in the beginning, but he might have jumped on late. Like
around 13 years old, it was just kind of being at at a certain place where my buddy, his family bought him that wrapping machine. Actually, before that, we even tried it, and people can try it. Is we took 2 cardboard boxes, we cut V-notches in them and used that as a lathe, and we hand turned for a bit. And you like sit on the thread to keep tension. Yeah, something like that hand turn. We did that for a minute until the power wrapper showed up, and then we got into that. But the main reason it came back into my life, and there was honestly no plan of going into business or doing any of this. It just kind of happened, was getting into swim bait fishing. And, you know, I was into it. I came out of it. I went back to it. When I went back to it, I was fishing a lot more. And honestly, I just wasn't happy with what was out there in the market. And as a fisherman, and not only as a fisherman, but in general, that's how a lot of great things come to life is you're in a position, you need something better, and what better to do something about it yourself. So started using that craft and developing and putting the time in, and it just kind of spread. So that inspiration was just that swim bait fishing in specific.
Yeah. So Lloyd was out here yesterday, and if you guys don't know who Lloyd Gomez is, he's awesome. Check him out. But my buddy, Dave Chip, was with me yesterday, and we got to hang out with Lloyd for a little bit, and we were talking about Mr. Ben, and we were with the Bassers United guys in Vegas, and Dave, he's in my River Running for Striper video. You guys can check him out, but he asked you, Ben, what do you feel the next big thing is in swim bait fishing? What is the next big thing?
Bait, and I'm assuming he's talking about bait-wise, and I think what the next thing is after this whole glide bait thing, which definitely has, you know, it's going to hold its spot and be another great asset to swim bait fishing. I've seen little bits of it in almost kind of like comical ways, and I've seen it overseas in Japan. I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but you're going to start seeing, I don't even know how to describe it. They're baits you'll tie to your line, but they're almost in some way, they're like battery operated, and they swim on their own and they break up. That's what's so great about the glide bait. It's something that breaks up that monotonous straight swim of any bait out. Any bait out there swims in a straight line. Soft bait, hard bait, it doesn't matter how much they wiggle, they come in a straight line. So if you imagine how much largemouth have seen this. Largemouth is an animal that's been caught and released so many times over its life. That's why it gets smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter. It's not like a saltwater fish, or even some of the stripers fall into this, where they get hooked their first time, and where they end up on someone's dinner plate. So the fish aren't getting conditioned and getting smarter, you know, but that largemouth is. So that's why a lot of people like to test their baits against the largemouth, the bigger largemouth. So I've seen a little bit of it, and I haven't seen much of it here, but I've seen, like over there, I see one where it's a little bluegill, and I'm pretty sure it's battery operated, and that thing swims on its own. And your line's connected to it. And it kind of sounds, some people might look at that and go, that's cheating or this and that, but that's next level out of the box thinking to break up that swim.
Yeah.
You know? And the glide bait breaks up that swim, and look at the success of it. You know, it's not a straight line. Now we're going left and right. You know, it's like a punker on the surface, but obviously it was down below, you know?
Yeah. That's awesome. That's crazy.
Well, I think that may be the next thing, but who knows? I always picture in my head, there's kids that are, you know, when you first get into it, and even it all depends for different people, but you're so hungry for it and looking for that next thing, they start carving and making their own bait. So I always picture, like, there's kids out right now sitting in the garage whittling away at a bait, and he's on to the next thing, whatever that may be. But
yeah. That's crazy. I've never even heard about those, but yeah, I mean, you never know what's out there, man. There's so many tinkerers nowadays, you know, and internet, everything's accessible right at your fingertips. You Google it, and next thing you know, you're off carving, and you might invent the next mother or the next depths or something like that. So kids, if you're listening, man, don't be afraid to try stuff out. You know what I mean? Of course.
And it always doesn't necessarily mean going on to what's the new or the next thing is the wildest. Again, you know, it's hard to say time-wise what the specs on it is, but, like, you know, a lot of the big fish that you may be fishing for in your lake right now are not the same ones you were fishing for 5 years ago. A lot of those fish may have died off, or whatever has happened. You're fishing for another set of fish that have gotten bigger. And you know what? They never seen a HUD. They never seen a triple trout. They never seen, you know, a depth. So that's why you see a lot of times as things cycle, life cycles, everything, you see some of that older stuff is like the hot stuff again. You know,
Yeah.
so you're not always fishing for that same big fish you were 5-10 years ago, you know?
Yeah, totally. Questions are starting to slow down now, and we've been, I mean, they're still coming in, but we've been going for about an hour. I guess I'll get one more question. I've been waiting for the extra heavy white label to come back in stock. Would you recommend the extra heavy for the 250?
Yeah, it's perfect for the 250.
250.
You know, that's like your standard issue depths 250 rod is going to be an extra heavy. Again, like I love helping people, you know, it isn't a like it's only this and that's it. Anywhere you go looking for a rod, you're going to look for an extra heavy for a depths 250. 8-inch Huddleston, you're going to look for an extra heavy rod. It's that simple. Don't overthink it. That's going to be that, unless it's something totally funky that I don't know about, but you're going to be good. It's going to be an extra heavy. If you're coming our way, it's the extra heavy rod. The only time it's a little different, even in my case, I like fishing that power up, again, to have that extra power on the fish. I fish a lot of my slide swimmers on a double X. It's a 6 to 15 ounce stick on the custom side. It loads up the 250 at cast it. When I hook into fish, I can control them. It feels nice. I personally like it. So standard issue is your extra heavy. Power up is your double X.
There you go. So guys that are out there just starting out, if you're looking for one rod that's going to throw a huge assortment of baits, that's probably, would you say so, Ben? The extra heavy is probably the rod that you're going to want to go with.
Yeah, if you're just getting into it, or you just want that one nice setup and you want to throw most of that, I promise you it throws most of the stuff in your box. It's going to be the LDC extra heavy. It's going to be a 300 size reel and a 5-to-1 gear ratio. And it's going to be 20-pound copolymer of whatever brand you have faith and trust in.
Right.
The copoly is not as stretchy as monofilament, and it also isn't as tight and sinking as fluoro. It's a nice in between, so you can fish floating baits and sinking baits. Spool it with 20 pound, the LDC XH 300 size reel. It's got the nice gearing in the drag, and you're good to go. You're going to pretty much be able to fish everything. Again, it's just, you're not going to throw that Hinkle trout or that Roman Maid Mother or that Grandcraft 303, but you know, everything from that all the way down, your HUD 68s, all that, you're going to be set, you know.
There you go, guys. If you guys are just joining in, this is Ben from Lowdown Custom Rods. We've been going for about an hour now. If you missed all of that, rewind the last 2 minutes, and that is, boom, that is 90% of the questions I get right there. What rod is going to throw A to Z, you know, the most of my baits? And he just answered it with rod, reel, and line right there. That is probably like the number one question I get, Ben.
Yeah,
we've been going for about an hour, man. So maybe we might start wrapping it up here. We see guys out there like Manny Chi and other people. Who are some guys that are on your, I wouldn't want to say roster, but who's some guys you want to give a shout out to that are out there using Lowdown Customs that you want to make sure that everybody in this live chat knows about and goes and follows tonight?
Okay. I hope I don't forget anyone, because then I'm going to get a earful on the phone. But I'm joking. What's cool is a lot of the guys that I get to hang out with, they're all so chill. It's a really cool circle. So definitely,
or better yet, just who's your circle of fishing buddies? There we go. We won't.
Well, still, we might. It's a big circle, but we'll highlight a few. So 4 years. I think this is year 4 for him. Manny Chi came out of nowhere. He was already swim bait fishing and doing all that. I'll never forget this night. I log on to the LDC Facebook page. This dude at like 10 o'clock at night drops his first video on our page. And I'm just like, what is this? I click on it, and it's still up on his Vimo channel. His older videos are up there. It blew my mind. I watched this video. It's 10 o'clock at night. I grabbed a rod. I ran out the door, and I went fishing. It was so inspiring. And as I ran out the door, I thought to myself, I need to contact this guy. Came back. midnight, sent him a message like, hey dude, like saw that video, it was super cool, like let's talk. We end up talking. He explained what his plan was with his guide service and everything around it. It's not just a guide service, there's so much more. And we connected with rods, and now he's going into his 4th year, and he's got, that's the next project coming up that's dropping soon, is the Manichi Swimbait Tech rod. So that's a nice rod. It's actually, I don't want to say too much. I'm going to leave it for Manny to say the rest, and what he does is it's a nice rod. It's almost in between an XH and a double XH, so it's kind of like best of both worlds type of deal. So, shout out to him. The relationship's been beyond amazing, and outside of business, it's a great friendship, and that's been great. So he's one of them. Right now, we're also working with Mike Gilbert from Working Class Zero. Mike's friend, even before I started building rods, I met Mike through fishing. We used to go pond hopping together. So we've been friends for a while. And, I'm really excited for what Mike's doing. Mike's work is really inspirational. It just brings this whole new level of entertainment. We were talking the other day, just changing, he said it, changing the landscaping of bass fishing, The entertainment is because the talent he has in videos, and then also being a fisherman, he can make these really cool videos, and again, more inspiring stuff, just to go grab your rod, watch the videos, go grab the rods and go fish, and it's cool. So definitely a shout out to him. And he's got a prototype Working Class Zero rod in his boat. We're working on that to launch that one as well. Guys that I've been working with before as well, especially towards the beginning, is the Purcell brothers, Chris and Matt. Chris Purcell's on Instagram. Matt Purcell's on Instagram. Matt's account is Bruce Bassman. And, they got into it. They first got into it, came and got their first rods from me. And it's been a few years that they've been doing it, and they're doing it at a fast pace. Like, they put their time on the water, So they've been a real big blessing to me, both of them. So you got them. Trying to think, like I said, it could be a huge list. I will say this, who's really inspirational to me even before I started doing this, and it's probably the same for a lot of people, is Butch Brown. Everyone remembers stumbling upon their first YouTube video somewhere, somehow, of Butch, and you probably saw that 19.3 on the 8-inch HUD.
Yep.
And it blows your mind. You see this guy, just a dude out there in his boat, and he makes that cast with the Huddleston. If I'm not mistaken, I'm replaying in my head. It's almost like he knew. He turns back and looks at the camera for a second, and he hooks into that fish, and it's coming straight to the point. And we all know, like, as soon as that net goes to get him, you see that HUD fly out of that fish's mouth, and it's just an epic moment, Yeah. So he's a huge inspiration all the way from the first time you see him to, that Butch Brown rig. I'll tell you this, the first time I ever Butch Brown rig, the first fish I caught was my biggest, that's on a scale, that's documented, and that's 14.9 pounds.
That's awesome.
So when someone tries to tell me, hey, check out this or check out that, it's kind of hard to. You're like, dude, the first time I did the Butch Brown rig, I caught a 14.9. It's a wrap, Yeah. So that's huge. And then on top of that, and granted, with the whole glide bait thing, in my opinion, he's the one that gets credit to opening the whole United States eyes to it. He did what he did. I had the blessing of kind of seeing that before it all came out to the public, and it, again, blew my mind what he did with that 250.
Yep.
And it's become such a phenomenon. Everyone's making glide baits. No one was doing that before, and that's because of Butch Brown. So that's been a really cool thing, and so he's been a huge inspiration. As far as that, who you look up to in swim bait fishing. Such a nice guy too.
Yeah.
Nice. I think he does more for people than people even know. He's always doing so much, so it's kind of rad. So
it's awesome. I haven't met Butch yet, but hopefully one day. And Yeah, I'll be excited for that.
Super nice guy. Yeah, really cool. So there's a lot of great people out there, man, and I'm probably missing a few, and I apologize. And I'm going to hear it. But
Put you on the spot, buddy.
you know what my favorite thing, even with you and I are just getting to know each other, but what's the greatest thing I take away from this, from swimbait fishing and even fishing in general, is all the friendships it brings together. You and I would have never met if it wasn't for fishing. I would have never met Butch if it wasn't for fishing. I wouldn't have met Gilbert or the Purcell brothers. A lot of these guys, too, have become really close friends, you know. Manny, like, it just wouldn't be, like, if it wasn't for fishing. And that's, to me, the huge blessing at all, you know.
Yeah.
So it's really rad to enjoy that, you know.
Yeah, the swimbait community is definitely, even bass fishing before getting into swimbaiting is a little bit different. You know what I mean? That tournament dynamic is a little bit different than like the tight-knit community that swimbaiting is, you know. And if you guys are on the live stream right now and you're not on there already, you guys can check out Swimbait Underground. That's a perfect like hub for all things swimbait related, you know what I mean? They've got, you can buy, sell, trade stuff on there. They've got open discussion. They've got tips and tricks. You know, you can post your questions on there. It's like a live stream constantly, you know what I mean? You get live feedback on there. And that's a great community of anglers that are all built around swimbaits. So, well, it's been, I think we're over an hour now, man. So why don't you tell—
I had a blast.
What's up?
I said I had a blast. I appreciate you having me on. It was a good time.
Yeah, man, this is the first, hopefully this is the first of many live streams for you guys watching. I contacted Ben about coming on here because I had the idea. Actually, I'm gonna totally put it out there. I saw Manny do the Facebook live with Hooked Up Tackle, and then I saw Wilbert do that quick live on the radio show. And I was like, why am I not live streaming? So I contacted Ben, and he was nice enough to hop on. For everybody that's still watching, we still got a lot of viewers on here. How can everybody find you, Ben? What's the easiest way? What's the social media platform you're most active on? Or how can they get a hold of you?
Well, we have, so at our location here in Tustin, California, we do have what I've coined the workshop, which is a section up front. People are more than welcome to shoot us an email. Go to our website, lowdowncustomrods.com. There's a contact page. Shoot us an email. Say you want to stop by. I always tell people there's no purchase necessary, like, at all. And chances are is you're going to stop by and we're going to lunch together, because everyone knows that they stop by here and visit me, like, we're going to go eat, because that's the best way to, like, get to know people. But that aside, no pressure. You don't have to buy anything. Come check it out. You know, we don't only have rods here. This was kind of like a child dream too. When I was a kid, is having a cool little specialty shop in general for bass fishing. When bass fishing first was, you know, the main passion, and obviously swimming. When the swimbait thing came along, and I had this opportunity, you know, you're not going to go anywhere and find a swimbait specialty shop unless I'm missing it somewhere. So that's how this space was created. And, you know, we got different baits coming here through certain times. We have our gear here on sale. A lot of cool stuff I've collected over time through swimbaiting is here on display in the case. There's cool artwork up on the wall. There's just like random pieces everywhere. So it's a cool little spot to hang out. Obviously have rods on display. So more than welcome to stop by. Just shoot us a message so we can dial in a time.
Right.
Go to lowdowncustomrods.com, hit that contact page. Also, we have the Instagram page, Lowdown Custom Rods, gets updated daily. So does our Twitter, Lowdown Customs, and so does the Facebook page, lowdowncustomrods.com. And yeah, it's a way to get a hold of us. And like I said, more than welcome to come check out. A lot of outstate guys. I always like saying this, and a lot of dudes have figured it out. You make that family trip. You go to Disneyland in Anaheim, California. That's about 10, 15 minutes from us. Guys always come through with their families, check it out, hang out for a second. So you can make it part of your trip and come check it out. This has been built and it's set up here for people to enjoy. So everyone's more than welcome to come. And again, there's no purchase necessary. I personally doesn't matter to me what kind of rods you fish, or reels, or baits, or what kind of clothes you wear, or anything. I dig on everyone. Again, more than welcome. Just stop by, say hello. We can hang out, and I love it. That's the biggest thing I take away from this, is all the people I get to meet. So everyone's welcome.
Yeah, dude, I've made so many, like you were saying, so many new friends in the last 6 months since the channel's been launched, and specifically more the last 3 since I've been consistently uploading now. And yeah, it's insane how many people I'm meeting through swim baiting and through fishing in general. It's bringing value to my life. You know what I mean? I'm meeting guys like
without a doubt.
I'm meeting Lloyd, and just getting in touch with everybody. It's awesome. So. Well, we got people signing off on the chat, and we've been going for well over an hour. So I think, guys, time, dude, I feel like we were just going, how do we get this thing live?
Yeah.
So thank you guys, everybody, for watching. Ben from Lowdown Custom Rods. If you guys don't follow him on Instagram, make sure you go click and follow him on Instagram, Facebook. If you're in Tustin, California, stop by the workshop, email him through the contact page on his website. And I think that's about it, Ben. I think we're going to wrap it up, buddy.
Thank you so much again, man. I appreciate you having me on. I wish you the best of luck upon your journey.
Awesome.
And looking forward to meet you face-to-face one day. You're always welcome here as well.
I got to get out there, man. The last trip I went out there was very quick, in and out in 12 hours, basically. Yeah. So I got to set a weekend aside. Actually, you know what? We're bringing my son to Disneyland in January for his birthday. So there we go.
Please stop by.
Boom. Done.
All right, man.
Awesome. Thank you guys for watching. This video will be archived and up on the channel. I don't know exactly when. YouTube's got to process it, but it will be up on the channel later. So if you guys missed anything, please go back. Please watch it. If you guys, once it's up on the channel, please share it across social media so we can get the word out about Ben and Lowdown Customs. Not that the word's already not out there. Everybody knows about them, but share this video. There was a lot of really, really good, really straight to the point, info shared tonight that I'm sure could help a lot of people. So again, everybody give a virtual round of applause for Ben Dehnadi. Thank you guys. Have a good night. I'm going to sign off, buddy.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.